First and foremost, I want to say thank you, because honestly, I've had some of the best experiences of my life in this club, and I think this is my opportunity to give back to it, to kind of continue that tradition of just overall enjoyment in everything that we do. One thing also is running for Vice President of Away Conferences. I'd like to continue communication with the previous Vice President of Away Conference, Nico Sartori, because I think he did a really good job, and I definitely have a lot to learn. So, my vision for the Vice President of Away Conference, it can be summed up in 3 words. It is MUN for everyone. I want to make sure that everyone gets the chance to go to an away conference who wants to. Everyone gets the chance to enjoy that experience that I got to. I want to make sure that we have qualified and trained head delegates for the conferences that we go to. I also want to make sure to revise the away conference schedule. Another thing I'd like to focus on is promoting and providing comprehensive training and resources for people, as well as fostering a sense of competitiveness in our away conferences. For participation, this last year I feel we had a very strong showing of underclassmen. We had a very large class who went on a lot of away conferences, and I'd like to continue that tradition by going and recruiting heavily from the class of 2023. Some of the best bonds and growth as a person I had were on our away conferences. You can see from my wonderful expression there. I want to make sure that all members are encouraged to attend, because you've got to enjoy that. I want to make sure that everyone is actively participating in club and make myself available as VPOA to anyone who has questions, concerns, or anything of that nature. I want to be accessible. I don't want there to be a wall between going to an away conference, VPOA conference, the VP of away conference, and our just general member body. For travel, for head delegates, I want to make sure there's a head delegate syllabus and training so that it is a position of leadership. We want to make sure that our leaders are qualified to be able to handle the responsibilities that come with it. I also want to set up communication with previous head delegates to get their do's and don'ts for going on away conferences. For our away conferences, I'd like to cut them from 6 to 5, mainly removing NYU Monk due to both cost and professionalism of the conference. I'd also like to really work closely with the training chair to focus on creating an accessible syllabus that outlines some of the basics of MUN, some of the parliamentary procedure, the crisis procedure, and kind of committee conduct, so that they have a much more comprehensive picture of how to MUN when going into away conferences as representatives of Penn State. For our away conferences, I really want to focus on our professionalism in committee, making sure that we give Penn State a good name, as well as making sure that we perform well. I want to make sure that the resources are available for our delegates, basics of Parley Pro, basics of how committee runs, expectations of how committee runs, that type of thing. And I also want to foster friendliness inside of it, because at the end of the day, we're doing this because we enjoy it, and we don't want to not enjoy it. For competitiveness, I have a 2-year plan. First one is 2019 to 2020, creating committee room leaders, making sure that our delegates that we're sending to away conferences are qualified and know what they're about as they go forward. And then with the next VPOA, I'd like to help encourage community and friendliness and make sure that we have top-tier competition and increase Penn State's reputation on the Model UN circuit. And why me? I feel I'm the most qualified for this position mainly because of my life experience. I was an assistant coach for 3 years. I've been doing many of the things that the VPOA does in another sense since 10th grade. Went on long car rides, making sure that everyone got to where they needed to be on time, ensuring the safety of the people I'm in charge of. I've been doing it for a long time, and I think I can do it well for SAIDA. My experience in SAIDA is those qualifications, Funk 6, Punk 12, and being on the Funk 7 Secretariat. And in closing, thank you. Trevor.
Patrick, wait.
Oh, sorry.
Stand up. All right, 3 minutes.
No.
Alright, so, hello, it is I, your resident NCOP. As VPOA, you don't go to every conference.
Yeah.
So, and there's always a risk when we travel that something would happen.
Yes.
So what would be your game plan in the event that you were not away at a conference and something did happen and that you had to help whoever your head out was?
So I'd make myself available, have a loud phone ringtone, so they call me, I wake up, answer it. Also, that would go into the head delegate training, where there's a procedure where it's if someone is injured, call 911, take care of the steps of going through adequate response protocol. Trevor.
Hello. I am jumping in, not from finances perspective this time, but the person collects data.
Okay.
So, first off, something that I noticed over the last year was that in the first half of the year, there was like this female delegates were not signing up as much or attending conferences representing SIDA as we would like.
Okay.
And it's balanced out much more with Anthem at the end of the year, but like, there weren't as many female delegates signing up. How would you, number one, encourage female delegates to sign up, number two, make them feel comfortable? And then number three, you talked about revamping the conference schedule for the year. What would be the conferences that you would want?
I'd really like to keep the conference schedule the same as this year, with the addition of removing NYU Monk, because we ran into a problem of like Dix and NYU Monk falling on the same weekend. So to kind of resolve that, we take care of it. Everything else I've heard from the conference this year were pretty much enjoyable overall. As for increasing member participation, I'd really like to get, as you would say, rubber meets the road and get involved with some of the freshmen and making sure that they understand that away conferences are enjoyable and that they should attend. Like, as a thing to enjoy your full Model UN experience, you should go to this. So that kind of wraps both the increasing female participation and increasing participation overall. Thank
2 minutes, 5 seconds.
you. Elizabeth.
So cutting down the actual amount of conferences going to, do you plan on sending more people to each one?
Approximately. It's going to be around the same amount of people as we sent this year because we were able to like pay for them. One of the big things though was that NYU Monk cost a lot of money. So bringing that back, we'll be able to spend a little bit more money on our other conferences. So yes, those delegation sizes can be increased. Victoria.
As a freshman currently, and as someone who has never served as a head delegate on an away conference, how do you feel as though you can maintain your position of authority over people who are more experienced than you are in away conferences and may or may not challenge your authority as a freshman?
So that would be reflected in the Exec Board Policy number 13, which states that head del rule is law, and that's agreed upon before going to the conference. So that would be if a situation did arise where authority was questioned, it would be dealt with through the Executive Board. Bill.
So, due to the change in the timing of Funk, there's been proposals that we return to Kayak, which was a conference that we've gone to in the past. What do you say to proposals of possibly changing conferences to ones that we might have not been able to go to previously, or looking at ones that may have previously been out of reach because of certain issues like maybe a big run or things like that?
So currently, we would have the opportunity to do that, but my main focus would be to continue to build the strong base that we have coming into this year. I'd rather keep the same conference schedule and then get another set of very qualified, very competent delegates. So we have 4 years of competent people who can go to any conference before starting to branch out. There you go.
So 3 things. First off, on the topic of Kayak, Kayak does once again fall on Funk weekend. They moved the date, so Kayak is not an option. My first question is, so this year we had, as you mentioned and touched on, we had a lot of attendance from younger members of the club, but we did not have a lot of attendance from some of the older, more veteran members. So my first question is, how would you get older members kind of re-engaged with the away conferences? And my second one is for e-board policy number 13. Obviously, it's going to fall out of effect this year, past year.
Mm-hmm.
I would obviously encourage it to be brought back. What is a change you think needs to be made to that policy to make it better?
So going back to the first part of your question, going into head delegates syllabus and head delegate training, they are the greatest resource we have because they have that experience. So I think we should bring them back into the fold and have them be involved with designing the syllabus as well as making sure that they are there to be head delegates as well. As for revising exec board policy number 13, one thing that I would make sure to do is add a little bit more stronger emphasis on lines of communication so that it's understood why decisions are being made. Not necessarily questioning those decisions, but understanding them.
27 seconds.
Trevor.
If you could be any part of like older
I think I'd be the bike tire, because when rubber does hit the road, that's what gets the bike moving forward, and I'd really like to put the work in and make this position work.